In this FM Predicts episode, we take a look at Serie A, Serie B, and Serie C 10 years on into the future. Looking at the 2033 table, there isn't any surprises in here of teams that shouldn't be in Serie A. So let's now take a look at the history of Serie A in the past 10 years. Looking at the past winners, we start off with Napoli, just like in real life, absolutely smashing it in Serie A this season. Inter and Milan, Napoli winning it again, Juventus, but looking overall like Napoli are the team to beat in Serie A, winning it a total of four times, which is very, very impressive. Milan winning it 3 times, Juventus 2, Inter 2 times as well. It's been a very, very dominant 10 years for the Neapolitans. Now let's take a look at some of the big teams and look at their managerial appointments. Let's start off with Napoli. Have they had any changes in manager? They have. They had Luciano Spalletti. He won the Super Cup and Serie A in his time there. Brendan Rodgers won the Serie A and he won the Coppa Italia as well 4 times. Absolutely class from him. He's then replaced by Sergio Conte Sonsesal, who won Serie A and the Coppa Italia as well. So Napoli have had a lot of stability over the years and they've had some good managers. Brendan Rodgers is a big surprise for me there, though. Let's take a look at Napoli's squad. They've got some really, really good players in here. Joseph Sotalo, Giorgio Scalvini. Let's take a look at him. He's absolutely class. Always develops. Been a mainstay in the national team and a mainstay in Napoli's team after buying him from Atalanta. They've also kept hold of Kravitz-Skrela as well. That's been big for them. Lil Abada, another underrated baller. If you haven't had Lil Abada on this game, go and buy him. He's absolutely class. Kim Manje stayed as well. And they've got a really, really solid squad. Osimhen's still there as well. Some really, really top quality ballers. Now let's take a look at AC Milan. And if you're still here at this point and haven't subscribed already, would really appreciate it if you can like and subscribe to the channel. Anyway, getting on with, let's take a look at AC Milan's managers. They started off with Stefano Pioli. He won Serie A and the Coppa Italia with them. They then moved on to Luis Enrique, who also won 2 Serie A's and a Super Cup. The surprise manager here is Ange Postecoglou. Celtic fans, what do you think of that? Him being at AC Milan. Absolutely crazy. Won Serie A and won the Coppa Italia with them. They then moved on to Niko Kovac, their current manager, who won the Coca-Cola Super Cup and the Coppa Italia as well, but no Serie A title for him. Having a look at his squad, he's got some good ballers still there. They've still got Tomori and Kalulu in defence. Charles Di Catalare is still there. Sailmakers, Rafael Leao is the big one who's still there. He's been absolutely class. They've had ballers like Scamacca, Caleb Okoli's there as well. Their squad's fairly decent, and you can see why they've had success over the years. Now let's take a look at Inter Milan. Looking at Inter Milan in this season, their current boss is Andre Villas-Boas. Let's take a look at their managerial history. Will there be any shockers in here? Simone Inzaghi's in there. He won a lot of championships with them, but was ultimately sacked in the end, replaced by Thomas Tuchel, who could only manage the Super Cup. He was then sacked. They then got in big manager Zinedine Zidane, who didn't achieve anything with them. Shock appointment came after that with Andre Villas-Boas out of nowhere. He's won a lot of competitions. He's won 2 Super Cups, a Serie A and a Coppa Italia. He's absolutely smashing it for them. Let's take a look at the squad that he's currently got. And Andre Lunin in goal is a quality goalkeeper. Dallo's not bad at right back. They've got Lautaro Martinez is still there and Skriniar, the sort of veterans of the team. It's a very aging team from Inter Milan, something that you've come to expect from them over the years as well. Raspadori's there, bought him from Napoli, absolutely class baller. World Cup winner in real life, Alexis McAllister's there too. Conor Gallagher's been there as well. Very, very strange signing. And Zinchenko and Buendia. Some strange signings from Inter Milan. But, you know, that's what they do. Still got Onana there too. Now let's take a look at Juventus. Looking at the Juventus in this season, they've ended up with Didier Deschamps as their last manager. let's have a look at their managerial history to see what's been going on. So they had Max Allegri. He didn't win anything, which a lot of Juve fans have been saying in real life that he won't bring back the glory days of what they had previously. They then went to Juventus legend Zidane, who won the Coppa Italia for them, so not too bad. He was then sacked. Paulo Montero, the Uruguayan centre-back, absolute legend. He won 75% of his games. Okay, only played 4. And then they got Didier Deschamps, was there for 8 years and had an absolutely incredible time with them, winning the Europa League, winning Serie A twice, winning the Coppa Italia twice as well. Absolutely class from him. Let's see the squad that he ended up with at the end of this 10-year simulation. One of the best goalkeepers on the game, Alex Marie, absolutely class. Eric Garcia's class as well. Strange that they got Sambi Lakonga. Never really seen him develop, so that's a little bit different. They've got some great ballers in there. Federico Chiesa's still there. Dusan Vlahovic is still there. They've got Selena on the bench. Thiago Almeida. Patson Daka's there as well. If you haven't had him on this Football Manager, definitely go and get him. He's absolutely class. You can normally pick him up fairly cheap as well. And then, yeah, that's a great little squad from Juventus. Now let's take a look at Jose Mourinho's Roma. And Mourinho is still there 10 years on. What a stay that's been for the club. And they've still got players like Lorenzo Pellegrini and Mancini as well. So it looks like they've had a lot of stability at the club. We won't look at the managers because we know that Jose Mourinho stayed, but we will take a look to see at what he's won. And he's only won the Conference League, which he won the season before. So not really won anything in this save. That's a big shame for Roma as they were looking to build upon that. Looking at their squad, they've got some decent players. It's a very aging squad by the look of it. Pellegrini's at 36. They've got Nico in there, who's absolutely class. Carlos Soler's good, but not at 36. Roger is there as well still. Their team looks fairly okay. I mean, I can see why they haven't really won anything on this save, even with Mourinho in charge, who is the trophy king. Now let's take a look at Serie B and if there's any shocks in that league. Looking at Serie B, there is a couple of surprises in here for me. I mean, if you know more about Italian football than me, please do let me know in the comments. But Lecce Libertoras, I've never heard of them and I've butchered their name as well. Didn't expect them to finish mid-table in Serie B. I mean, that's the first one that shocks me. And then Chievo, Lecce, and Crotone looking like they could get relegated. That's absolutely crazy. Let's have a look at the past winners from the past 10 years. Genoa and Palermo. Then we had Brescia and Sampdoria. Ascoli won it. Monza won it. Samp won it again. Bologna won it. Brescia, Empoli, Genoa, and Monza. So there's been some up and downs for Monza and Sampdoria in Serie B, but not exactly the biggest shocks in that league. Looking at the Coppa Italia, in the last season, Napoli were beaten by Juventus on penalties. Let's have a look at the history throughout the years. The past winners started off with Milan winning it, then Juventus beating Inter. Inter then went on to beat Lazio in the final. Lazio then went on to beat Juventus. Napoli beat Atalanta. Napoli were runners-up 2 times, once against Juventus, one against Milan. Inter beat Milan in the Milan derby. Milan beat Juventus. Napoli beat Inter. And then Juventus beat Napoli again. So probably all the teams you're expecting to win the Coppa Italia were there and were winning it. So no real shocks there. Finally, let's take a look at if any of the Italian clubs could win in Europe and bring home either the Champions League, Europa League, or Conference League. Taking a look at the past winners, it doesn't look like any of the Italian clubs could win the Champions League, although Milan did get to the final in the 2031-32 season, and it was at the San Siro, and they lost. So not looking good in the Champions League for the Italian sides here. Looking at the Europa League in the final season, Roma lost 3-0 to Arsenal in the final, but did any of the other Italian sides manage to win the Europa League? And the answer to that question is emphatically yes. There's a lot of success here for Italian sides, with Lazio winning it, Atalanta winning it, Lazio winning it again, Juventus winning it as well. So they fared much, much better in the Europa League competitions than they did in the Champions League in this 10-year simulation. Now let's take a look at the Europa Conference League. Looking at the Europa Conference League, and in the final season, there wasn't an Italian team in there, but it does look like they had some success in this competition. They've had great success. Sassuolo winning it twice, which is very, very good for Italian sides. It's not too bad. So their success mainly came in the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. Let me know below which nation you want me to do next on these FM23 predicts 10 years in the future, and I will see you on the next video.